calling in to your show, to the after party this
Okay.
week from Los Angeles. I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm here to support an event and to attend an event. The Critics' Choice Association is doing. It's the first inaugural celebration of LGBTQ cinema and television, and people like Nathan Lane and George Takei are going to be honored, and it's going to be a fancy to do. And I'm here to attend that this evening. So you're getting you're getting our reviews from the movie capital of the world
this
this
is
week.
so exciting.
Yeah.
You're so big time, Tim Sika. This is cool.
Uh, yeah, yeah,
All right, should we jump right into it? Let's go
yeah,
for it.
yeah, yeah,
You the first movie you have is something I think that I might be interested in. I'll wait to hear what you have to say. It's called Longing.
yeah. Longing. Longing. This first movie to get out of
Uh-oh.
the way this week. Okay, okay. Longing. Okay, Kim. Longing is a great example of a very interesting idea incomprehensibly executed. And
Oh.
I'm going to try my hardest to be as nice as possible to this movie because it was clearly well intentioned. But most of us know that the best of intentions do not necessarily guarantee a good movie. So, anyway, I said interesting idea. Okay, it has an interesting idea. This movie, Richard Gere plays this high power corporate business mogul, and as the movie opens, he's arranging this meeting with it's either his ex-wife or his ex-girlfriend, whom he hasn't seen in 20 years. And at this meeting, his ex-wife or ex-girlfriend informs him that when they broke up 20 years ago, she discovered that she was pregnant and gave birth to his son. And this comes as a total shock to him. But then she just adds, and he died a couple of days ago in a car accident. So, what this movie attempts to dramatize is that the Richard Gere character, in talking with people who knew his son, and talking to the girl who was in love with his son, and talking to his son's friends, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, he, even though it's quote unquote too late, begins to formulate an idea as to who his dead son was, and who he was to other people and who knew him, and the people that were in his life. And I think that's I like that idea, but it's almost impossible to convey to anybody tuning into the after party right now.
Mm-hmm.
Those tuning in, those watchers and listeners to your show who have not as yet seen this movie because it opens today, just how cringy, ridiculous, and absurdly contrived this movie actually is. So, what am I saying? God. In other words, the badness of this movie can only be experienced.
Oh.
And must be seen to be believed. And the acting is terrible too, not because these are bad actors, but they're bad because of the way in which they're directed. And
Oh.
this film was directed by an Israeli filmmaker named Savi Gabizon, and this Longing movie is an English language remake of his 2017 movie, which I believe was in Hebrew. Anyway, I've been trying to figure out why it's so bad, and what I came up with is it's bad because it depends on this notion of magical realism, and it uses magical realism tropes to tell its story, right? But instead of making a magical realist movie, they went strictly for realism. And as a result, the tropes become literalized. And so when these actors utter these lines and do these scenes in a realistic manner, you can't roll your eyes high enough into your forehead fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of this father who never knew his son, but who comes to know his son through death, is a potentially very touching and moving idea. Unfortunately, with every plot revelation, every unfolding of a new episode, the film just gets more and more ludicrous. And we're being asked to accept one improbable situation in line of dialogue and speech. The characters do lots of speechifying. We're asked to accept one improbable situation after another. This is just one example. Okay, you're sitting down, Kim, I see. That's
Oh
good.
yeah.
Okay, a wedding. Okay, a wedding. An actual wedding of the dead son and a dead woman who the dead boys never met is actually planned by the dead boys' parents and ritualistically executed. And I believe that this was meant to be the high point of this picture. Try and wrap your head around that one. Anyway,
That's really
longing.
confusing, but okay. Yeah.
Yeah, best of intentions, but a truly terrible movie. I never say this to people. I tell people, don't listen to me. You know, if what I say sounds interesting, check it out anyway. But I'm saying here for the record, don't waste your time, folks. It's
Oh,
probably no, not probably. It is thus
yeah.
far the absolute worst film of the year.
Wow. So it's a Razzie candidate, huh?
Yes, a Razzie candidate. It's probably going to win them all this year. Yeah.
Next one is Hitman, and this one's on Netflix today, right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix today. And we'll move on to something better here and cleanse the palate, so to speak. Okay, Hitman is a romantic dark comedy from writer director Richard Linklater, whose movies are always cause for celebration and film buff enthusiasm. Linklater co wrote and directed Hitman, which stars Glenn Powell, who plays a full time psychology and philosophy college teacher who moonlights on the side as a part time undercover police contractor with the New Orleans Police Department undercover as a quote unquote reliable hitman with the goal of he sets these people up. These people are sort of filtered to him with the goal of he's supposed to his goal in being this fake hitman is to get these people set up and arrest them who are trying to hire this guy, this as a hitman to kill another person, a full-blown undercover murder stopper, as his wife describes him to him at one point. And this is actually based on a true story. The character depicted here, his name was Gary Johnson, and he's played by Glenn Powell. He was a real guy, and the screenplay is based on this real guy, as reported on in this Texas Monthly Magazine article of the same name. And it's a terrific movie. It's funny, it's smart, it's provocative. It's got all kinds of interesting twists and turns and ideas kicking around. And it's peppered with a lot of philosophical musings and observations by people like Nietzsche, for one. And it entertains this question, can people really change? And it, quote unquote, submits for our approval, as Rod Serling used to write in many of those Twilight Zone introductions, notions of personal transformation, seizing the identity you want for yourself with passion and abandon and living that identity. It almost makes a convincing argument for openly living one's fantasies. I don't know about that one, but like I say, it's provocative and it tosses around all those ideas. It really makes you think, but it's primarily an entertainment, and it's at times arguably it stretches credulity, let's say, but not enough to make you abandon the narrative. What's
Okay.
actually going on and unfolding on screen, and the relationship that develops between this main character, the hitman of the title, played by Glenn Powell, who also co-wrote the screenplay, by the way, and one of the women he sets up here, played by Adria Arjona, who wants to hire him to kill her jealous and obsessive husband. Uh, it's a cross between mesmerizing and mesmerizingly sick. The relationship that develops between these two people. The acting is great. The writing is great. The direction is great. It's a smart, funny, and clever comedy for adults. And how often do we get to come by one of those?
Love it.
Yeah,
Okay.
terrific. And it streams on Netflix beginning today.
The next one is Solo.
Solo, yes. This is a movie being released during Pride Month 2024.
Hmm.
It's a French Canadian film called Solo, and it's a romantic drama of sorts, I guess is the best way to classify it. And it tells the story of a young, and by a young, I mean late 20s or early 30 something, emerging drag queen in Montreal, Quebec, who becomes kind of sucked into a passionate but complicated romance, in my opinion, a dysfunctional one, with this other guy in his drag troupe, while at the same time trying to navigate a relationship with his sister and, most importantly, a reunion with his estranged mother, whom he has not seen since she left Canada 15 years earlier to pursue her career as an opera singer. And it's a good movie. It's a very good movie. Solo is. It's not only a compelling drama about the need and the search we all have for love, for example. It's a tale of self empowerment, and also a very colorful and vivid evocation of the Montreal drag scene. I mean, there's lots of drag numbers here and production numbers in Solo that are really great fun to watch. Vivid is the way I would describe them, and also this movie, and also the characters, all in whom we develop a rooting interest. So yeah, we get all of these colorful drag routines in addition to this interesting story about this guy and his relationships with his family. And yeah, it's a terrific movie. It's perfect for Pride Month, and actually any time of the year.
Okay.
I think what's interesting, we get all of these colorful drag routines in addition to the story about this guy and these relationships that he's in. But it also dramatizes how easily I think it is for any of us, regardless of where we might find ourselves on the Kinsey scale,
Hmm.
how easily it could be, might be for any one of us to find ourselves in a kind of a soul killing relationship, and what's
Yeah.
required of us to ultimately extricate ourselves from that toxic relationship. So, terrific movie, really good, very entertaining, and very relatable too.
I think that spans gender, right? It doesn't matter what
Yeah,
gender you are, everybody has that capability to
yeah,
find themselves in a place they don't want to be.
right. We're all
Um,
people, and at the end of
yeah.
the day, right? Yep.
This next one is Treasure, and I'm kind of find the storyline that you listed compelling.
Yeah, another interesting movie. That there's that word again. Interesting. Another
Hmm.
interesting movie. Treasure is the film, and they're calling it a tragic comedy, and it's based on a novel called Too Many Men by Lily Brett, and it takes place in Warsaw, 1991, and it's the story of an American journalist played by Lena Dunham who travels to Poland with her father, played by the always great Stephen Fry, to visit the places where he grew up, and her father happens to be a Holocaust survivor. So, do the math on that one. Many of these places, like Auschwitz, where the daughter wants to go visit with her father for obvious reasons, her father is kind of comically avoiding going. And that's an interesting dynamic that's going on in the movie. But we really find out, and no surprise here, that he's only doing that to hide the deep scars that any Holocaust survivor would be sustaining, because as history tells it, what was it? 3 million Polish Jews, I think, were murdered during the Nazi occupation of Poland, in a bunch of the camps there. The most notorious ones being Treblinka and Auschwitz.
Hmm.
And so, anyway, so yeah, what's interesting about Treasures is its premise: a daughter wanting to know more about her father and her recently deceased mother, not only about where they grew up, but also about what happened to them when the Jews of Poland were being rounded up for the slaughter. So back to interesting scenes, cogently dramatic moments, for example, moments and scenes which, if looked at individually, you might think, and you said it, Kim, this looks compelling. You'd say, for example, well, if you saw them in a movie preview trailer, you might go, well, this looks like a movie I might want to see.
Sure.
But the problem with Treasures for me was that not a whole lot of these really compelling scenes and these compelling moments were particularly tied together particularly well. So we get this mix of good moments with scenes where you go, well, I kind of, I think this is a good movie. I kind of like this movie. I like this story that looks like it's something that will live up to its promise of being compelling. But it just, I don't know. Nothing meshes in the movie, and the result is as though the movie feels like something is either off or that something is missing. It's a different kind of Holocaust drama in that much of it, due to Stephen Fry's larger than life performance, he's fantastic in the movie. He's amusing and he's kind of sweet. And far be it from me to shy anybody away from a Holocaust drama. But if I were to be honest, Treasures doesn't quite all come together. But it comes together enough, I suppose, for a recommendation. So I had issues with it, but audiences might like it. So I'm gonna give it a kind of like a qualified recommendation.
Okay.
It's in theaters.
Lastly, you have The Great Lillian Hall.
Yeah, the great Lillian Hall. Yeah, I love that poster. It's a drama, and it's directed by Michael Christopher, who received the Pulitzer Prize for drama and the Tony Award for Best Play for a play called The Shadow Box in 1977. And He also played the role of the director of the movie, played the role of Philip Price in the television series Mr. Robot. And anyway, here he directs this movie about a place and an institution and a person and a profession, both of which he is obviously familiar: the theater and acting and actors. And in this case, a fictional actress named Lillian Hall, who is played magnificently by Jessica Lange. And the plot is pretty simple. Lillian Hall's powers of memorization, which are essential, of course, to the profession to which she has dedicated her
Mm-hmm.
entire life, acting in the theater, are becoming gradually diminished due to a form of dementia, which
Yep.
is obviously impacting her abilities to perform. So, this is basically a character study about a famous stage actress appearing in a production of Chekhov's The Cherry Orchard, and her slow sort of succumbing to this dementia. And apparently, the film was loosely inspired by and even more loosely based upon the great American stage actress Marion Seldes, who was the aunt, just happened to be the aunt of the screenwriter Elizabeth Seldes Annacone, who in fact wrote this movie. And I'm not going to go where I think this movie falls short. I had issues with some of the editing, for one, and some of the writing was a tad less than I think it could have been. And there were scenes where Lillian was musing with her dead husband, who's played by Pierce Brosnan, by the way, which tended to bog the narrative down a bit. But Jessica Lange delivers a towering, monumental performance that makes you forget any flaws you think may be frittering about
Wow.
in this movie. She's absolutely breathtaking and brilliant and heartbreaking all at once. And as this once great actress slowly and intermittently, loses control of everything that made her a great actress, I mean, your heart just breaks for her, because she has these moments where she's totally elusive and on point, and then the disease kind of kicks in. I think all aspiring actors, anyone interested in great acting, to watch Jessica Lange here is just another reminder of how great an actress she is, and how an even greater actress she can be with meaty parts like Lillian Hall. So on that basis alone, I wholeheartedly recommend the great Lillian Hall. It's
Um,
now streaming on Max, on HBO Max.
oh, HBO Max. Okay. I it's a lot of times you have these wonderful actresses that never get a part like this because you get movies that have roles for younger women but not really good roles for older women. So to have this vehicle for her to kind of showcase what she can do is, I would say, rare.
Yeah, unless you're Meryl Streep. I mean, Meryl
Yeah.
Streep. In fact, I believe, or I read somewhere, that Meryl Streep was actually considered for this role, and I don't know why she turned it down. Maybe she was just too busy. I mean, she's always in every movie these days. But yeah, no, it's great when parts like this are being written, and yeah, it gives great actresses who we may think aren't what they used to be or whatever, a
Sure.
chance to really show off their stuff. And it's interesting about this performance. There's nothing actorly about it. I mean, it's just like you're watching this real person. A lot of times with roles where you have to portray a disease or an affliction, you can kind of see sometimes the wheels, click, 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 ticking. You can see the little actorly things
Mhm.
performers do. You don't see any of that here with Jessica Lange. She is just. I hear she's been nominated for this, or I think what they did was they pushed the movie out quicker than they might have in order for it to qualify for an Emmy nomination. If there's any justice, she will win the Emmy for Best Actress in a motion picture drama. I can't say enough good about what she does here. It's great and it's wonderful, and beautiful, beautiful acting,
Okay.
beautiful. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to recap it. Here we have the first one was Longing. You said it's the worst film of the year, and
Yeah.
don't bother.
Yeah.
Don't even
Well,
go there. No.
yeah, no, it's pretty bad.
The next one you said Hitman. You enjoyed it. And you said that it's smart and funny and clever movie for adults, and you recommend, and it's streaming on Netflix today.
Yes.
Yeah. Solo, you called it a good movie, and you said it's vivid.
Yeah,
So
vivid is the best way to describe Solo. Yeah.
And that's a recommendation. Treasure, you said it falls short, that it feels like something is missing, that it had issues, but you recommend it with the qualifier that you say there's something missing from this movie. So,
Yeah, it's an unusual Holocaust drama, and I think on that basis alone, I think it's worth seeing. I don't think it's a great movie, but I do think it's worth seeing just for Stephen Fry's performance, for one. Yeah,
as for the great Lillian Hall, you say Jessica Lange is incredible. This is streaming on HBO Max, and you said you highly recommend it.
right. And there she is in all those panels. Yeah,
Yeah.
just yeah,
Well, Tim Sika, you've done it again from Los Angeles.
from Los Angeles. I didn't know if I was going to be able to pull this off, Kim, but I'm
Look
glad.
at you go.
Yeah,
You're amazing.
yeah.
And you're going, is there some big critics dinner tonight? Some big thing that you're doing?
Right. It's a Critics' Choice inaugural celebration of, in honor of Pride Month, LGBTQ
Okay, cool.
cinema and television. So Nathan Lane's going to be honored, George Takei is going to be honored, and there's going to be some celebrities there presenting awards to these people in recognition of their careers. So yeah,
So
there's a
cool. Well,
dinner and everything. Yeah.